Hello folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you DPP Revival Ubers Open. This is round 5 losers bracket action between Tbolt and Lightniong. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but both players gentlemen to Farcius. And for those of you wondering why we explicitly allow Farcius to be agreeable if both players agree to it, and that's exactly what happened here. I am not nearly as well versed in Farcius, but regardless though, let's jump right into this. Taratar into a Deoxys Speed lead. Deoxys Speed will probably get a layer up, and then T-Tar will either break its sash or it's Cobra, but it's not. Yeah, if that was Cobra, we've gotten another spike up at the very least, but Groudon's gonna come in here, and Skarm's going to be the answer. And Tbolt here probably gonna scout for Fire Punch. Does exactly that into Kyogre. What's the Groudon going to show? It's gonna show Fire Punch itself. It's probably Rock Polish free attacks. Question is, what else does Lightniong has in the back? Rayquaza, Skarm. I suspect there to be a Wobbuffet on Lightniong's side. That's a very common pairing for Rayquaza. And Taratar is gonna come right in right as the Wobbuffet makes itself known in the game. And yeah, scouts out the counter there, and now got taunt. So yeah, worst case scenario for the Wobbuffet as Taratar effectively neutralizes it, and Groudon is going to come right back into the game, try to force an uncomfortable situation here, and Kyogre is going to come right out. Got Rock Polish here, and it'll probably not kill Kyogre from this range, but Skarm's gonna be the answer here. Yeah, with rain, that means those Fire Punches are just not gonna do enough. Got a lot of pivoting going around here. Taratar into Groudon, and Arceus Ghost is shown. So yeah, Arceus Ghost probably arguably the strongest ghost in this tier. Something to note here is that it'll show free 72, but it's actually free 31 due to the way EVs work. I can explain that after the game, for those who need a quick refresher. And Taratar here gonna get slept by Darkrai, so a Darkrai variant of Wabray. I think the last here is usually Extreme Killer Arceus, but Blissey's gonna be shown. Skarm Bliss, nothing too surprising here. Toxics here, Safeguard, that will make future Toxic attempts not good, but Wobbuffet here. Counter is there, nice counter there. And now if the Blissey is probably a softball here, and I would look to perhaps Encore, but that does not seem like it's gonna happen. Instead, Groudon, I would probably just EQ here. Yep, nice EQ there, huge crit. That means that there is no more rain for the rest of the game. And Tbolt saying, oh yeah, that's a fair statement to make, you could say. And Wobbuffet won't really be able to do a whole lot to Skarm here. And yeah, the taunt especially, I was gonna say, even if it didn't have taunt, you would just get a bunch of hazards up and then just go next, and the Wobbuffet's on timer anyways. Nice whirlwind there. And the Wobbuffet's going to go down. Geez, I mean, yeah, I assume this has to be last Pokemon Arceus, right? Like, I would find not bringing Arceus to be almost unfathomable. DD's up here. Outrages into the Arceus Ghost. That's gonna take care of that, but Skarm will be able to phase this thing out. Even though Rayquaza usually carries, you know, a lot more punch to carries overheat, sorry. And raised the last here on Tbolt's end, which is interesting, but it's gonna come in quite handy here. And don't forget, that's probably Scarf Ray on Tbolt's end. But yeah, I mean, Arceus Ghost, like, just a very centralizing force. Although I will say T-Spikes would be quite annoying for Tbolt's team, but I guess you have Blissey, which makes it not as bad. Yep, there's the E-Killer. That is probably the last thing you want to see here if you're Tbolt, because for starters, like, that Skarmory is at 38%, which, like, yeah, it's not a whole lot, and you better hope that T-Tar doesn't wake up immediately. Yep, there's the EQ. And, I mean, it's probably Silk Scarf, too. Scarm will probably take... What? Oh, it's just E-Speed there, man. What? Oh, jeez, I think Lightniong might have... Yeah, what? Wait, no, wait, just E-Speed! Oh my god. Yo, that is a tragedy. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, I'm just gonna go out on a whim and say that Lightniong assumed that, you know, Steel, you know, does not resist Ghost. I'm gonna go out on that whim. And he is saying, but yeah. Yeah, like, I can't really explain that, and I'm like, because I've seen, you know, stuff like, you know, forgetting the type chart. It happens. But, yeah, so Tbolt's gonna go up 1-0. That is, I mean, you're Lightniong, you gotta be kicking yourself right now. And yeah, okay, yeah, Lightniong said that he forgot Steel resist Ghost in his gen. Okay, yeah, that checks out with what I assumed had happened there. Yeah, that's really brutal, to go out, though, but, like, you know, I mean, his timer went down a fair bit, too, like, during the game. I feel like, I don't know, folks. All I'm gonna say is that, the damage calc exists for a reason, okay? This isn't VGC where, you know, you can't use that. And I guess, like, yeah, use the resources available to you. That's really all I can say. I mean, that's really frustrating. But regardless, though, it is a best of 3 for a reason. And we got another game to go through. Fori into a Deoxys speed lead again. Interesting. Taunts here into Fortress. No spikes are going to be thrown up. Yep, rapid spins there. I don't know about that if you're Lightniong. Extreme speed, sure. Break the sash. But no, it's shown to be lefties, and yeah, this is like a very awkward matchup in general. For no reasons, and then like Wobbuffet just won't really do enough to, like, if the Fori was locked in the payback, then yeah, the Wobbuffet could actually remove it, and yeah, counter just doing nothing. If you're Lightniong here, I wouldn't. Like, Encore lasts a long time, but it doesn't last, you know, that long, you know. I think it's only, like 5 to 8 turns or something like that. Off the top of my head. Okay, Wobre again from Lightniong. Okay, that's a bold choice. Arceus fighting is shown here. Oh, this is probably Sunstall. Eclipse, as many people would call it. Ice Beams there. Yeah, Arceus fighting. Probably one of the most reliable E-killer checks in the tier. I say check very loosely because it can't really take a hit, but it can threaten a KO on Arceus normal or E-killer. Because again, if you're running Arceus normal, you're running E-killer. But on Tbolt's end, I would expect there to be a Groudon. I would expect there to be a Giratina Altered, and then perhaps a Skarm Bliss. Actually, no, not Skarm Bliss, but I do expect a Bliss to show up. There's the Giratina Altered. Some Lightniong has to be careful of getting whisked here. However, the downside here is that Lightniong might not actually have the tools necessary to deal with this. If you have Safeguard, I think, yeah, if you have Safeguard, you might be able to make something happen here. Yep, there's a Safeguard, and then, yep, there's the Groudon. Okay, yeah, so Latias. Okay, yeah, Latias is some. Yeah, so if you recognize Eclipse from regular Ubers, then yeah, Arceus fighting kind of takes Cresselia's place because you want something a little bit more proactive. You want something that's got a little bit more punch to it. And yep, there's the Groudon. Last should be Blissey here. Groudon's got trade. And really, I think something that Arceus does that's so important, especially for Eclipse or Sunstall in general, is that one, you have some form of reliable speed control. And then something to note here is that Mewtwo does not always run psychic moves, so that means that, you know, something like Arceus is going to be... Arceus fighting isn't hard-walled by Mewtwo in the traditional sense. And then Seismic Toss is here into Wobbuffet. This Wobbuffet is getting real low. Let's toss it here. Encores, sure. I mean, if you're Lightniong, you gotta have... Okay, yeah. That's gonna go down. I don't think he has a way to oh wait, no, he does have a reliable way, but that method is going to require a Shadow Claw crit. That's pretty much the only way I see Lightniong getting out of this. Oh wait, no, I don't think a crit would have done it either. Is it Lum? Okay, it is. He has one more chance to actually get a crit there, and Mewtwo's going to come out instead. Gonna get roared out. And then Deoxys speed is shown, sure. And then Fortress is gonna come in here. I mean, double to... Oh, okay. Yeah, if you're Lightniong, you have to be way more proactive. Like, it's a bad matchup, so, like... Yeah, gonna get Rapid Spin there, except Blissey's just gotta kind of sit on you all day. Yeah, sure, going to Arceus, but... Again... You've got a lot of pivoting going on here. Mewtwo... into Giratina, but then it's just gonna go into Mewtwo again, and then what's gonna happen is that you're gonna get into this really crappy loop. Okay, no, small chance. Explodes here, but yeah, the Blissey isn't really doing anything else for you anyways. So yeah, Fortress is just gonna be kind of chilling. I think what you want to be looking for here is... Oh, I see what's happening here. Rapid Spins here, yeah, makes sense. Last Mon Arceus, because it's so if it has Recover, which there's a chance it might have, it can become really dangerous if you like get unlucky with Wisp misses. So what you really want to do if you're Tbolt is you want to make sure you're in a fantastic position here to take this thing on. Okay, no, it definitely does not have Recover based on the way Lightniong's playing this. Explodes here. Okay, yeah, now you have to go into Groudon here. Yeah, Groudon's gonna comfortably trade unless you get extremely unlucky here. Nope. Toxic? Okay, now you're giving it a chance for no reason. Does he not have EQ? Okay, no, he must have assumed that... What? Oh wait, actually no, it's dead anyways. Yeah, I got a Toxic off. Russ here, and Tbolt's gonna win this series 2-0. Kind of a strange game, to put it simply. Lightniong bringing Wobrate twice. Interesting gambit here, and again, like E-Killer, usually it's just gonna be, you know, SD free attacks, but again, I know like some run Recover, which is like, you know, totally it can totally work, but like, you know, you gotta have a game plan against Scarm, because Scarm is generally just much more common in Farseus, especially for reasons like this, because it can usually wall E-Killer pretty reliably, although some people will tell you that E-Killer is overrated or what, or like it's not all that, but it is still something you have to respect. And kind of a strange endgame from Tbolt there. I don't really know why he was going for the Toxic. Like, my only guess is that he probably assumed it had Recover. Like, that's the only way that makes sense. But at that point, it's like, if it... I think you take your kill, and then, like, you don't want to... You want to basically catch a choke. Is probably how I would have seen it, but... that was just a really uphill battle. I think there were probably a couple of turns where Lightniong could have been a little bit more aggressive, or, well, not so much could be, it's more like he kind of had to be, and I think, like, especially if you're facing a, because this is kind of a rough matchup for him, because, like, if it's a rough matchup, what ends up happening is that usually you have to play a lot more proactively. You have to be a lot more aggressive in your doubles and your positioning, like, you know, trying to read what pivots are going to be made. And then I think from Tbolt's perspective, I guess for people watching this, it's a case of, like, you know, hey, look, you gotta, sometimes, like, you don't want to get too comfortable, I think is the word I'd be looking for, complacent, because sometimes that can open up opportunities for you to lose the game. But regardless, though, if you guys enjoyed... Oh, folks, Typhoon Carter here, and I bring to you DPP Revival Ubers Open. This is a round 5 losers bracket matchup between Oreo and Dry Defender. Something interesting here about this set that's going to make it a little bit unique is that both players actually agreed to play Farcius for this best of 3. So this means that Arceus is going to be legal. Why is it called Farcius? I guess for those who don't know, since it's going to be the first series that I'm actually featuring on this channel with Farcius. It may or may not be the last, I don't know, but usually it's because of you know, like the way Arceus is obtained. It's like you can only put up to 100 EV points instead of, you know, 252, 252 on everything, like most mons usually do. So this means that Arceus' speed tier, instead of being 372, it goes up to 331. 1 plus speed, which is notable because that means something like Garchomp's actually faster, but it's still faster than base 100s. And it's still slower than the Laddie twin, so that's just something worth noting. And again, there's been some talks about whether Farcius should be the main version of DPP Ubers. That was a topic that was going on for a while. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but regardless though, whoever loses here is gonna be eliminated. So let's jump right into this. We got Kyogre into a Deoxys speed lead, so Deoxys probably just gonna get some hazards up here. Spike's gonna go up. It's straight into a water spout, and then if you hear sirens, yeah, there's some stuff going on in my neighborhood. Water spouts again, and hazards are going to be laid out. Deoxys speed has done its job. Dialga is going to be a follow-up here on Dry Defenders and going to do a significant amount of damage to that Kyogre. That water spout's not going to hurt nearly as much. Dialga is going to be a switch on Oreo's end, probably just going to look to get rocks up. And only 12%, yeah, that is definitely a Spadef Dialga if I've ever seen one. Dragon Pulse is here. And what's likely going to happen is that both players are going to trade down. Nope, Dry Defender revealing Arceus Steel. Arceus Steel, again, usually it's support. It could also be, you know, like setup, like CM or SD, for example. So there's tons of ways that Arceus Steel could be ran. And Arceus just gonna recover here, gonna get roared out and into a Kyogre. So yeah, usually in Farcius, again, this, like, Arceus is pretty much mandatory on almost every team. I don't think I've ever, or if I have seen a team without Arceus, it's extremely rare. But yeah, again, like Dry Defenders is Arceus is probably Judgment Thunder, recover, and then the last move can be something like CM, could also be T-Wave and whatnot, because again, like, it's Arceus. It's got probably almost, if not every move you could think of that it could get access to. And Kyogre just got Calm Mind up here. Gonna get hit with Thunder, but Dry Defenders is Kyogre gonna deal a decent amount of damage. Surf under Rain, yeah, look at the damage output there. And Dialga is going to probably just, yeah, I mean, Oreo's Dialga is probably gonna go down. And again, there's no real clean entry here, so yeah, if you're Oreo, take your damage. That Dialga is not gonna be sticking around anyways. What's the follow-up here? Follow-up's gonna be Garchomp. Remember, Garchomp is faster than Arceus because of speed tiers. And Mewtwo is going to be Dry Defenders' follow-up, going to try to take care of things here. Kyogre here at 16%, going to Ice Beam, do 15, and that is interesting switch out there. And I don't know about Dry Defender letting the Giratina Origin take unnecessary damage there. Like, it's not custom, you know, it's already choice based on the way it was played. And Arceus Steel is going to be in the follow-up here, and this Mewtwo going to have to switch out. And don't forget, Arceus also can't be tricked, so just something to keep in mind. Iron Head's here. Oreo going for para hacks or para flinch hacks, kind of, sort of, with T-Wave plus Iron Head. But man, this Arceus Steel looks very scary here. Thunder's here, no para, and Dry Defender going to, I mean, okay, I wonder, is this mono? Oh, this might be mono Iron Head with like recover last, especially after that Iron Head all but confirms it for me. And oh, just gotta let it go down. Okay, don't know about that, but hey, if it works, right? And Giratina, or oh, that is rough. Yeah, I think Oreo was probably not expecting the Kyogre to be fast like that. That's probably what happened there. But Garchomp is going to probably like do a non-significant amount here, and Mewtwo is going to threaten the KO with Ice Beam, and Quillfish is Oreo's last, and just gonna get Psychic there. So yeah, Oreo's gonna lose his game one. Dry Defender's gonna be up 1-0. Not something you see a whole lot, but I suppose Psychic makes sense if Dry Defender suspected that there might be a Swift Swimmer in the back. Which again, I mean, fair enough, because like Quillfish could have actually cleaned out Dry Defender's entire team if he doesn't get that, if he doesn't make that read. But I don't know. I think Warfall would have KO'd. I don't know if it would have KO'd Arceus Steel. That being said, though, but regardless, though, we have a game 2 to play. Again, sorry, disclaimer, I'm not nearly as well practiced in Farseus compared to regular Uber, so if I slip up anywhere, apologies in advance. But again, before we start game 2, if you guys enjoyed this video, consider donating to DPP Revival's prize pool. Again, anything that is donated goes directly into our tournaments, funding our tournaments, paying, you know, our competitors, or like our money winners, whatnot. Anyways, we have a game 2. Let's go right into this. Deoxys Speed into another Deoxys Speed. So we got DOS Mirror here, and looks like Oreo won the speed tie there, and Dry Defender's gonna bring out Kyogre as the response here. And Spikes are gonna go up, and Dry Defender's gonna use this chance to get a Calm Mind up, and probably just gonna attack this Deoxys. So yeah, gonna break it down to a Sash here. Oreo probably gonna get another layer of Spikes up. So Deoxys Speed has done its job on Oreo's end. Follow-up's gonna be Groudon, going to try to force the issue here perhaps. And Wobbuffet is going to eat this up pretty comfortably. And the taunt wore off way earlier than expected. And Oreo will at least be able to KO the Kyogre and ensure Sun is, or not. Okay, I spoke too prematurely, but yeah, this Kyogre is in huge danger anyways, and Giratina Altered is gonna be showed on Dry Defenders, and not something you see a whole lot. And again, Giratina Altered, kind of a necessary evil. Okay, yeah, normally that crit, that actually does. Okay, so first of all, that Arceus E-Killer, that Escalade normally does not kill Giratina Alter. Just to be clear, what likely would have happened is that Giratina Alter probably would have either roared it out, Dragon Tailed it, or even got Will-O-Wisp buff. Now, if it was, you know, Lumberry E-Killer, then Dry Defender was in way bigger trouble. If it was Silk Scarf, then he might have gotten out of that, but again, we don't know what Dry Defender was going to click. And usually you could run something like EQ as that final move. Could also be Recover, for example. There's a couple ways you could do it, but like Wobbuffet with like Deoxys Speed, I mean, like, you know, like could also be like a Wobray kind of combo too. That's something in regular Ubers that translates over to Farseus. EQ's here. That was an offensive Dialga from what I can tell, and that Mewtwo might act. Ooh. Yeah, and Dry Defender saying that he actually had it at the Deoxys Speed War. And yeah, that is fair enough. Iron Head there, no luck. And yeah, Oreo's gonna win this and tie it up at 1-1. Kind of anticlimactic, but going back, I guess looking back at this 15-turn game, because again, Dry Defender claimed that, hey, look, Oreo had it the moment he won the Deoxys Speed War, and he said that he wasn't really adequately ready to play against losing that. I suppose that's a fair enough comment from Dry Defender, because again, you win that. What likely happens is that, like, you know, Oreo doesn't as easily get free turns to like set up, right? So I mean, the Wobbuffet also kind of exacerbated things a little bit, because for example, I think, yeah, Dry Defender probably didn't think that a Wobbuffet was in the back right away, which is like a fair enough assessment, because normally if you're bringing in Groudon, you're probably pivoting to something else, like maybe a Palkia, for example, or, you know, maybe like a Bronzong or like a Steel. But again, Bronzong's used a lot less in Farseus. It's not nearly as mandatory because of stuff like Arceus Steel still being around, like another Steel option. And then Giratina, yeah, like, I'm trying to think, like, did Dry Defender have a path? I think there was, but a lot of it hinged on denying Arceus or like E-Killer to like actually get an SD off, which again, I don't know what the Mewtwo set was. It could have been all attacker Mew. Kyogre could have prevented it, but again, like, you have to play around a Wobbuffet. For example, you get a second CM up, then what could happen is that then the Wobbuffet versus Kyogre stuff, that becomes like a real mind game and whatnot. So it's just things to think about. But regardless though, there is a game 3 that needs to happen. Again, game 3, loser goes home. So we have Fortress, another mirror match. So both, and Dry Defender with Groudon. This might be Eclipse, or like Farseus Eclipse. Is this a mirror match? There's a chance this might be, but Stealth Rock's here. Dry Defender, you go scout for Lava Plume or Fire move. Yeah, Overheat works too. And Latias gonna come in. Usually you could, and then Heatran's gonna come in. So Oreo with a Sunstall, or Heatran Sunstall, which isn't something you see as much in regular Ubers, but Heatran still has some viability in Farseus, mostly because it does match up decently well into some stuff. Giratina is gonna show up here, gonna get Toxic again. If Dry Defender is running Farseus Eclipse, then this most certainly has to have EQ or something, but it might not. Roars here, rest, EQ. Mewtwo is shown. Okay, so yeah, this is probably Stall 2, which again matches up kind of poorly into Heatran here, and Heatran just kind of putting in overtime. And yeah, this is why Heatran, even in regular Ubers, it sees use, just because of how polarizing it can be. Because like when it dominates matchups, it really dominates. Kind of like what we're seeing here, especially since Latias doesn't really run, you know, Surf in either version of Ubers. And Giratina Altered is going to come in here, gonna take all this passive damage, but really, if you're Dry Defender, you're not feeling great about this. Will-O-Wisp here, yeah, that was probably the worst possible outcome could have asked for. And now you have like sun boosted flamethrowers, which will actually put a real dent now. And yeah, that Giratina Altered looks pretty done here, but is at least fast enough to be able to get the rest off. And yeah, that's something that's really underappreciated, is just how much natural speed Giratina Altered has for a wall. And Fortress is going to be phased in, but Dry Defender doesn't want to stick around. Unfortunately, he was probably banking on an overpredict on the Roar or something, but Hazard's going to be here to stay. Giratina Origin is shown on Oreo's end, and that will perhaps threaten a Draco or a Wisp even. And Arceus Steel is the last, so yeah, Arceus Steel makes sense because generally, like, again, I've talked about how like Arceus Steel just has like a fantastic defensive profile, and this Arceus Steel might actually be screwed against Heatran depending on the moveset coverage here. If this is like CM Arceus Steel, what happens is that some do run Focus Blast, but again, it's not a guarantee. Calm Mind's up here. We're gonna see what happens. Gonna get roared out. Oreo does not want to take any chances here. Mewtwo, again, this is gonna be threatened out by Flamethrower. And yeah, forced to recover there. And not to mention the burn chance too is a real problem. Giratina is going to swap in here, so Dry Defender gets that turn right. But again, the onus is more on you know, Oreo actually, you know, slipping up, and Flash Fire being boosted is probably the worst case scenario you could ask for. And it was Thunderbolt Judgment, so perhaps, or like Bolt Beam. Yeah, I mean, either is plausible, and yeah, 50% Thunder missing. And that is that is just, yeah, Heatran just putting in overtime here. And yeah, that's why some stall teams, like, you know, you see in regular Ubers, right? Like, that's why sometimes you see Giratina running EQ, but not just for that reason alone, but it's also for stuff like bulk up Dialga. That's actually the other reason why. Just want to keep it honest. So, besides Groudon, because sometimes Groudon can be overburdened. And then Latias, yeah, Dry Defender just not getting nothing here. And this is looking to be a potential 6-0 here. Protects here. Go Roar. U-Tier Origin is going to come in. Whiffs on that. Yeah, I mean, for Dry Defender at this point, it's like, just don't get 6-0'd. Because that would be a really sad way to go out. Draco going to take care of that. And Groudon going to perhaps threaten a Toxic. What's the last here? Okay, no, still showing only Roar. Might just be Dragon Claw. Draco's here. And oh, it was Fire Punch last. So no way to actually touch any of the dragons. But I guess that's reasonable because like dragons aren't nearly as rampant in Farseus. I mean, they're still around a big chunk, but Arceus going to recover here. And Lastmon Arceus is probably the only way Dry Defender is getting out of this. Yeah, that is doing way too much. Oh! Okay, no, you will not get 6-0'd. So, but the Groudon will probably eat anything up comfortably, barring a crit. Yeah, Dry Defender not gonna get that. And Oreo Speedruns is going to win this series 2-1. That was a game free for sure. For lack of a better word, you see a sun, like a bulky sun mirror here, and then I don't know what Oreo had in the back. I am less inclined to say Arceus Steel was in the back for Oreo. I don't know if he's watching this. Maybe he could tell. Maybe he could tell me in the comment section. But I mean, there's a couple. I mean, it could just be, you know, Arceus Normal, could be Arceus Dragon. I don't know. There's a few variations you could reasonably run. I mean, but or Arceus Fighting, actually. Yeah, I could see Arceus Fighting reasonably fitting onto Oreo's structure, because again, you want a way to kind of deal with E-Killer, because like, you know, Groudon, yeah, Groudon's not bad, but like you can't have that holding up. And then Giratina, or like the Giratina forms in general, you know, outside of Shell Claw hacks, like you're not instantly gonna break through that, but then you have something like Arceus Fighting, which is actually very good in this format. That's something I could see reasonably being on Oreo's 6, but regardless though, if you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating to DPP Revival prize pool, and I will see you guys next time.